You can save your marriage starting today, even if you are the only one interested. Imagine looking forward to coming home or looking forward to your spouse coming home with no knot in the pit of your stomach, no concerns about another argument. Imagine an evening spent with your spouse that is warm and cozy, full of connection, not spent in icy silence or heated rage. Imagine knowing that you are with your soulmate and knowing you two were in it for the long haul, ready to weather any storm in life and in love. If you aren't there, you can be. Don't believe me? Keep watching. If you really want to save your marriage, please watch this short presentation to learn how you can save your marriage. My name is Lee Balcom. I am one of the top experts in how to save your marriage, and my success rate is extremely high. I tell you that because I can help you do the same. You can save your marriage, and you can do it even if your spouse has given up, left, is angry, had an affair, or claims there is no hope. You can still take action and turn it around. I know because I have seen it time and time again. But if your spouse has threatened to leave, and even if they have already left, you need to act. If you find yourself constantly fighting, or perhaps there is no fighting and no communication, you need to act. If there is no intimacy, no connection, no sex, you need to act. If you value your marriage, you need to act. A marriage crisis doesn't simply go away, and if you don't have the proper information, you can even make it worse. Do you find yourself begging and pleading, arguing and cajoling? Are you reacting with anger and tears, or find yourself sending texts and emails trying to get your spouse to change his or her mind? You may be driving them further away, getting just the opposite of what you want. You need the right information, not outdated ideas or baseless opinions. You need what works, and you need it quick. And by the way, marriage counseling is not the answer. I should know. I am, or was, a marriage counselor. Oh, I still help couples and save countless marriages, but now I know what marriage counseling does not work, and I know why. But most importantly, I know what does work, and I can teach it to you. You see, when I started out, I was trained just like every other counselor. Well, actually, I was better trained than many. There are many, quote, marriage counselors that have never been trained to do marriage counseling. They were trained as individual therapists and just started seeing couples in their practice. Kind of like going to an allergist for a heart condition. Not the best idea. But even with my training in marriage counseling, I noticed that way too many couples were not getting better. At first, I thought it was me. I thought I must be just a bad therapist. But then I noticed my colleagues were doing no better. In fact, I found research that told me the truth. 50% of couples who go to marriage counseling get divorced, and only 10 to 15% say it even helped at all. Think of it this way. You go to your doctor and he tells you that you need to have a procedure done. He tells you that you have to have it, but there's a 50-50 chance of even surviving, and only a 15% chance that the procedure will even help. Would you sign up? I wouldn't, but many couples do that every year. So there I was, realizing that my profession was doing as much harm as good. I made a decision. I would help couples, but I would learn what they really need. I knew what they didn't need. For example, most marriage counseling focuses on communication. Theory is a couple needs to improve their communication. If they do that, then their marriage will improve. Wrong. My observation is the vast majority of couples I see can actually communicate just fine. In other words, people understand them, they know how to say what they are thinking, and can get their idea across, except with their spouse. The problem is with perception. Couples misperceive each other. They assume the other is being mean, or is trying to hurt them, or is ignoring their needs. That is the real problem. Correct that, and the marriage has a chance. Help a couple communicate better, and they are just better at fighting. So to make a long story short, I stopped doing marriage counseling the way I was taught and started experimenting. I started finding out what works and what doesn't. In the process, I began to develop a fairly radical but deceptively simple approach to saving marriages, and it worked over and over again. Which left me wondering, why do others keep serving up the same old useless information? If you look around, you will see lots of information designed to help you save your marriage. Much of it is well-intentioned, just useless. First, there are those that teach, quote, reverse psychology or other tricks to help you stop a divorce. But come on, do you really think your spouse is a 4-year-old? Reverse psychology may work on a child, but not on an adult, at least not for long. Then there are those who will try and teach you communication skills. I think I already demonstrated the dead end of that. Then you get into the spells, subliminal messaging, and other weird methods that don't work. Also, there are two types of people out there, people who have no professional training and those with dated professional training. One is like asking a friend to operate on you. The other is asking an ill-trained doctor to take your life in his hands. Neither strike me as good options. So let's talk a bit about an alternative, something that works and something you can do. First, let me say this very clearly. If your marriage is in trouble, it is not your fault. I say that even if you've already have been unfaithful or have made many mistakes, and I really mean that. It is not your fault. You got married, but nobody trained you, right? The only training you got was on the job, while simultaneously doing harm to the same relationship nobody told you how to build. That is a setup, and it isn't even your fault. Why do I say this? Because nobody told you the biggest secret about marriage, and it is a simple one. But if you miss this one, you will never have a successful marriage. Get it, and your marriage will be magical. The secret? Marriage is about becoming a we. Seriously, that's it. It's that simple. But it is also that complex and difficult. Marriage is unlike any other relationship in the world. We were raised to take care of ourselves, to be a me. Then we meet someone, fall in love, and decide to marry. But nobody makes it clear that you have to create something new. You have to forge a new understanding, a one-of-a-kind relationship. It is not that the me goes away. In fact, a we is made up of two me's who have decided to be a team, using the strengths of each to make it through life together. Does that seem romanticized or lofty or impossible? If your marriage is in trouble, it probably does, and that is the thing. I can tell you the secret, but unless you have the specifics, what good is it? You can't even see what that would mean when your marriage is in trouble. But if you start to understand the secret and how to get there, then you can start pulling your marriage back together. Not just together, but into a marriage that you would treasure. Sound good? I bet so. Now stay with me here because I want to tell you how to get there, how to get a marriage you would treasure and that your spouse would treasure. Imagine a marriage that is divorce-proof and affair-proof. Now notice I didn't say problem-proof. Every relationship has problems, but those that know the secret know what to do to recover and stay the course. The others implode. You need to know how to connect, how to get to we, and I will show you how. You see, my career that now spans over 2 decades has been about helping people to save their marriage, and once I gave up on the ineffective and dangerous methods, I could then see what would work. I took that information, tested and retested, and used it for years. But there are so many people that need the information, good information. So after working with couples one-on-one and in seminars, I decided I needed to create something available to anyone, at any time, anywhere in the world. That is why I created the Save the Marriage system. This system holds not just the secret of becoming a we, but the step-by-step details on how to get there, regardless of where you start. The system is designed to give you everything you need to get started on your own. To date, over 72,560 couples have used the material, and you can do the same. And here's the thing. In the latest survey I held, for those that applied the methods and techniques I teach, 83.5% saved their marriage. Now I have to admit, my average used to be higher, but more and more people at the end of their rope started grabbing my information and my average slid down about 4 percentage points. But still, that sure beats the average for therapy and many other approaches, and it absolutely beats the odds if you do nothing. The system is designed so that you can start implementing from day one. No need to wait on this one. In fact, because the information is delivered electronically, and don't worry, even a computer novice can do it with my step-by-step approach to even that, you get instant access. No need to wait for the postal service. Even if it is in the middle of the night, on the other side of the world, you can get the information you need right now. And because I've divided the information up into bite-sized pieces, you can get started quickly. In fact, the first step is learning what to stop doing. So I have a module dedicated to helping you stop the actions that can only cause more problems. Many you may not even know you're doing. I'll highlight the top 5 most destructive actions in the first module of this system. Then you will want to start with a quick start guide that will allow you to assess your situation and know exactly where to begin. There are actually 8 different stages to a marriage crisis, each one needing a different approach. Once you've completed that, you are ready to learn about what a marriage could and should be, along with direct advice on how to get there. So my core module is designed to give you all the information you will need to understand what went wrong, how to fix it, and how to make sure you never get stuck again. Then you will want to take advantage of my module on anger and resentment. Those 2 emotions, really the same thing, do more damage than anything else, and unless you understand it, you will be in trouble. But more than that, you need to know how to handle it, whether it is your anger and resentment or your spouse's. But what if you find your spouse is still resisting the relationship? I have that covered too. The final module is my down and dirty guide to saving your marriage. It gives lots of tips and tricks to deal with the most recalcitrant and difficult situations, all without stooping to manipulation. You can feel good about how you approach saving your marriage, and that will spill over into the relationship. Every day I get the best news I could possibly dream of, success stories from couples on their way to a lifetime of wedded bliss. Nancy T. wrote me and said, "What a dramatic turnaround. Our relationship is 180 degrees reversed and moving in the right direction. Thank you so much." But what if your marriage has been in trouble for a long time? Well, Brad R. wrote me to say, "My marriage has been in trouble for years. I've read other books. Your ideas are radically different from the others. I've never read anything like it. Now things are improving. I finally have hope." And if you are concerned that you might be reading some over-your-head theory that an academician wrote, let me assure you, I have made this simple and direct. You will have the same experience as Anthony J., who wrote me to say, "I recently purchased your package, Save the Marriage, and spent the last week reading it. I don't know how to express how I feel about it other than just to say, wow, I was convinced within the first section as I could see the truth of it in my own life and relationship." And the turnaround can happen very quickly. Georgia wrote me to tell me that the crisis caught her by surprise and that she wasn't even finished with my material yet, but had the opportunity to speak with her husband. Here's what she said. "I'm 41 years old and my husband has recently told me that he wanted out of our marriage, and he actually left a few days later after 21 years of marriage. After the initial shock wore off, I was able to think straight. I purchased your system. I was able to persuade him to give me and the marriage another chance. I had to wing it with only your strategies in my head. Many, many thanks for your resources." You know what would be really cool? When you write me to tell me how your marriage is back on track, not just on track, but on a whole different track, something entirely new, better, fulfilling. Albert Einstein said the same thinking that gets us into trouble will not get us out of trouble, and that is really the problem. You are caught in a pattern that you can't even see, so no surprise you can't see your way out. My system will do just that. I will take you by the hand and show you how to understand and address your problem step by step, no PhD required. In fact, sometimes that is even better. My work has shown that anyone from any background, walk of life, and situation can save their marriage. I've even helped a couple save their marriage on the way to sign divorce papers. Long story short, they just on a lark stopped by my office as they headed to the attorneys. And in half an hour, they called to delay. In 2 hours, they called to cancel. Unfortunately, after they paid the expensive attorney fees. Now, you think this is too good to be true? Okay, there is a catch. Actually, a couple of catches. You probably thought so. First, let me say that I do not support working on abusive relationships. So if you are in an abusive marriage, do not work on saving your marriage. Work on being safe and getting help for that. Second, this approach will require your efforts. You will need to follow my 3 C's. You will need to be calm, consistent, and constant. If you only want the simple, no-effort solution, this is not for you, and it doesn't exist. And it may take some time. Marriage problems don't arise overnight and are not solved overnight, but they can be solved. Third, Not every marriage can be saved. While my average is way above the averages for other methods, including therapy, there are still marriages too far gone. Sometimes people contact me not just when the marriage is in critical condition, but when it is on life support and someone is actually pulling the plug. But you know what? You won't know that until you try, and statistically speaking, the chance to save it is greater than the chance of losing it. So what would saving your marriage be worth to you? I can only tell you that my marriage is, in my opinion, priceless. I would do anything to save it. What about you? This is the same information I have used with couples paying upwards of $10,000 for a weekend intensive. It is the same information I have been using with my clients for years. The average cost of a divorce in the U.S. is $20,000. That does not count the lost assets, the pain and suffering, impact on kids, cost of running two households, the list goes on and on. Marriage therapy, ineffective as it is often not covered by insurance, and the cost of a single session between $70 and $250 depending on where you live and the training of the therapist. Most of the time, marital therapy will last between 18 and 36 sessions. That means it will cost you between $1,260 and $9,000, all for something that is highly unlikely to help. Now, you could decide to not take action, and that may lead to divorce. You could decide to get help that is ineffective, but that won't change your likelihood of divorce. You could go it alone, but you probably already know where that has gotten you. So what will tomorrow be like if you don't do anything? More pain and anguish? As I see it, there are really only three options in a troubled marriage. Do nothing, quit, fix it. Doing nothing likely leads to divorce, the pain of divorce, and the cost of divorce. So does quitting. But what if you can fix it? Isn't that really the best option? Isn't that what makes the most sense? Okay, so I've already told you about the Save the Marriage system and what that system could be. What would that system be worth to you? Capable of transforming your marriage from broken to thriving. Any single part of it could turn your marriage around, but all 5 modules are powerful. Remember, we start with Module 1, top 5 things not to do. Then Module 2, Quick Start Guide to Saving Your Marriage. Then the core module, Module 3, Saving the Marriage. Then Module 4, Dealing with Anger and Resentment. And finally, Module 5, Down and Dirty Guide to Saving Your Marriage. But I didn't tell you about some extras. First, let me tell you about an ebook I'm including with my system. Paul and Jennifer Thibault wrote it. The book is entitled Change of Heart, and it is powerful. It is a story about how they actually saved their marriage. It is an amazing story of transformation and will help you see how you can do it too. Paul used to sell the book, but decided to let me give it to my readers as a bonus. By the way, Paul is now one of our relationship coaches on staff. And since I don't know where your marriage crisis is about, at least right now, I have a couple more things for you. First is an audio on recovering from an affair. Infidelity destroys many marriages, but it doesn't have to. In fact, it can be the catalyst for a real change. But you need to know why affairs happen and what to do after an affair. I tell you that in this audio. You can even play it on your iPod or MP3 player. Less commonly understood is the midlife crisis, which can become a midlife marriage crisis, which I cover in my audio on coping with a midlife marriage crisis. If you have had a spouse tell you, I love you, but I'm not in love with you, or I don't love you anymore, or you see other signs of a midlife crisis, you need this audio so you can keep that crisis from ending your marriage. Also, I'm going to give you a special little report. 5 rules for fair fighting. You see, conflict or the mishandling of conflict is like gas on the flames of problems. Little issues spiral out of control without resolution. Couples go from 0 to 60 in the argument, but their resolution skills are stuck in neutral. These 5 simple rules will radically change your approach. You can get instant access to all of these resources. Real help with your marriage right now when you need it. Now, I've worked with couples on an intensive basis and they pay over $10,000 for that. This is the same information I use, but there is no way I would want you to have to pay $10,000 or even $5,000. Other courses, which are full of communication theory or outdated systems, sell for $1,000 or over. I want you to have the information without that cost. On the rare occasions I can spend even 1 hour with a couple, it costs $250 to $300, and in that hour I can't come near covering the information I have for you in this system. But I want you to get it into your hands so it isn't even $250. Oh, I forgot to tell you about another piece of the system. I also have one of my relationship coaches give you a call and have a head start 10 to 20 minute conversation at no additional cost. That means you can get direct and personal information soon after grabbing the system. Now, it may take a few days given the number of people we have grabbing this information, and you must be in the United States. The normal price for all of this is $97. That probably wouldn't even cover 1 hour of ineffective therapy, and it's certainly less than even a single hour with a divorce attorney. But for right now, just to make sure anyone can grab this information, you can invest in the future of your marriage for only $47. That's it. No shipping and no waiting, just $47. Is your marriage worth that? And remember this, my system can work even if your spouse has refused to go to therapy with you, which by the way may be a good thing, refuses to look at your problems, refuses to read or watch anything, or to put it simply, refuses to work on saving your marriage. My system can still save your marriage. Here's what I want you to do right now. Join me in saving your marriage. All you have to do is click the Add to Cart button just below this video. From there, just follow the steps and I will walk you right through getting the important system into your hands. So right now, go ahead and click Add to Cart just below. I'm not going to tell you that there are only a few copies left or try to tell you why you have to act now because of anything on my end. But I will tell you this, every marriage crisis deepens over time. In fact, the odds of saving a marriage go down the longer no action is taken. Think of it like someone bleeding badly. In the beginning, it may look like nothing is at risk, just the blood. Then comes the weakness, and unless there's some intervention, the pace of body failure speeds up until death is inevitable, even if help arrives. So don't wait until it's too late. Take action right now. Grab my information by clicking Add to Cart just below. Two things can happen from here. You can do nothing and you can know where that is headed, or you can take action and take control of where you are headed in your marriage. Just to make it so there really is no decision to make, I'll take all of the risk. Here's the deal. If you do your part, my system will do its part. And if it doesn't work, I'll give you your money back. In fact, here's my ironclad 100% plus guarantee. You grab my system and use it for 30 days. If you see no change, just email me and I will refund your purchase, no questions asked. And you can keep the system to continue trying to work on your marriage. You have a full 60 days to even give it a try. So even after 30 days of trying, you still have another month to see if anything changes. If you don't see a change, then I don't deserve your money. So the risk is entirely on me. Try it out and see if I'm right. If I am wrong, all your money comes back to you. What do you have to lose? Nothing, but you do have a marriage to gain. So now is the time you have to ask a question. Am I serious about saving my marriage? If you are, take action by clicking Add to Cart below. If you are not, then this is not for you. If you're ready to take action to start saving your marriage, simply click the Add to Cart button just below this video and grab my Save the Marriage system. Remember, the risk is entirely mine, and you can start saving your marriage right now. Thank you for watching this presentation. The decision is yours. I am guessing it is an easy one. Still here? Are you waiting for something else? Something that will convince you to take action? Look, we already know that only 1 in 25 people who visit will take action. Are you that one? Or are you the other 24 that leave having chosen to not take action, to have their life continue the way it has been going? What we know about the ones that take action is they are the ones willing to put effort into doing something. They are not looking for an easy answer, but for a real answer. They are ready to take back control of their lives, ready to see a change. Most importantly, they are the ones who refuse to listen to their fear, refuse to be held hostage by nagging doubts or concerns. They quit playing what if and take action. Perhaps it is their personality, or maybe it's just a realization that things aren't going to change unless you do something different. Are you in the top 5% that take action, or the 95% that will find themselves at the very same place tomorrow, frustrated and looking for an answer? What if this is the answer? People often get caught up in questions like, what if it doesn't work? Or what if this is a scam? So they do nothing, forgetting to ask, what if it works? Please take action. Move yourself into the rare 5% that chooses to take action. You will be glad you did. Click the Add to Cart button just below. Remember, I guarantee this, so the risk really is on me. Click now. Each year, tens of thousands of couples seek marital therapy, hoping that that will be the key to saving their marriage. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. In fact, often marital therapy can actually undo the progress that you might be making and may actually cause you to move closer to divorce rather than away from divorce. And I want to talk with you about why that's the case and what you can do to get around that. So join me with some of this information that I can share with you. So we want to talk about why marriage therapy can be dangerous to your marriage and what the experts really don't want you to know. Each year, tens of thousands of couples seek marriage counseling hoping to save their marriages, and most will find it unhelpful, some will find it hurtful, and few will benefit. Half will still divorce. These are the statistics about marriage therapy that you may not have heard about. Of the couples attending therapy, half will end up divorced, which means they're no different than the general population, where about 50% of marriages end in divorce. So even those attending therapy have the same statistics. In fact, 75% of people who go to marital therapy say they have no measurable change in their relationship, and only 10 to 15% will report any positive change. Imagine a doctor saying to you that you need this procedure and there are some risks. There is a 50% probability that you will die. If you survive, there is a 10 to 15% chance that your condition will improve. Now I would ask you, would you sign up for that? I would not. Here's the problem. This is why this is the issue. Most marriage therapists are actually trained in individual therapy models. They say they're marriage therapists, but they've actually been trained in all their training as individual therapists. And the reason that is a problem is because their goal is the happiness and the life satisfaction of the individual, not of the marriage. Many don't even have any training in marital therapy. It just happened that they had some couples who came to see them and they marketed themselves as marital therapists. There's no requirement for someone who says they're a marriage therapist to actually have training in marital therapy. And most want to be helpful, but they don't know how. This is not that they're out to be malicious, they just don't know what to do. Now, those that are trained in marital therapy work from the standpoint that the problem is communication. This is an age-old part of training as marital therapists. It's about communication because we're still working kind of from an individual model. Now we've added another person, so the issue must be about the communication between the two. Few couples really have communication as the root issue. Very few couples have that as the real issue. And learning communication skills, in my opinion, only makes you better at fighting. It just makes you more effective in your communication and unfortunately, in your arguing. Now, that doesn't mean that there's nothing that can be done. There are some good therapists out there. There are some good marital therapists out there. And here's a quick assessment for you. If you will ask the therapist that you're talking to, who is your client? if they give you any answer other than a variation on their client is your relationship, it's time to move on. In other words, a marital therapist should look at the situation as the relationship is what they're working on. It's not one or the other of you or communication or whatever. It's your relationship. That's one way to get a good, quick assessment to even see if their brain, their mind, is on the right target. And there are approaches that can help, that can get to the real issue. Now, the real issue is that perceptions of each other that are built on years of hurts and pains. In other words, we misperceive each other. And in fact, I have the theory that we co-create how we view each other and co-create how we live with each other. And that's the real issue. And to put it more bluntly, we're not creating a sense of connection, of being a team, of being a we. And in order to have success in a marriage, you have to create that sense of connection. You have to change the perceptions of each other, and you have to start with that by building that sense of being a we. And there are alternatives, and there are alternatives that don't make your spouse defensive and resistant. I've had people say, oh, my spouse won't go to therapy, and so it's all lost. And sometimes I think the real problem is trying to get a spouse who doesn't want to go to therapy dragged in a therapy office because they become defensive and they become resistant and they really dig their heels in and they don't make any change. And there are alternatives that do make lasting changes to your relationship, not just cosmetic changes that sometimes happen when we're in the midst of a panic, but real, honest-to-goodness changes to your relationship. And these are alternatives that can save your marriage. If you're interested in this, I want you to do right now is just keep reading. Keep reading the material that's below so that you can understand ways that you can save your marriage, and you can save your marriage starting right now.